Hello. Here is my response video to Steve's response video to a bunch of response videos to his Myb Mdrsh announcement. Myb Mdrsh is hosted by Steve, an atheist. Cruel Reader's Thesis. God damn, I can't remember his name. Cruel Reader's Thesis. That's funny. I can remember his channel name now, but I can't remember his actual name. Who is, I believe, agnostic, and Jason over Old Blues Chapter and Verse, who is, I believe, a Christian. I would probably be on solid ground there. But Steve, as the atheist and just a troublemaker. Not all atheists are troublemakers. I'm an atheist. I'm an easygoing guy. I don't make trouble at all. As evidenced by this video not getting released publicly. Steve, in his announcement video, made some provocative comments because he wants to get the conversation going. He made comments about how the majority of the world are atheists, at least atheists to something, because while they believe in their own God, they definitely don't believe in the gods of other belief systems. So, if you take it as a cumulative total, that means that all those people are atheists, which is, I think Steve was raised by sharp angled Jesuits, and he uses his Jesuitical argument skills very well. I would not want to get into an argument with Steve, thus this video is also private. Well, not that I have anything to argue with Steve about. I think yeah, there's some kind of a logic thing going on there, which is entirely logical, but you're bringing a machine gun to a knife fight, Steve. It feels like it. Yeah, there's that comment. I think there's comments, basically that, there's no proof of a God. That, if there was, it would have gotten brought to our attention now. It is a matter of faith, whether you believe in a deity or not, whatever form. It's a thing of faith, which I guess I agree with, and I don't see a proof, and I don't see a deity. I'm fascinated by people who all the belief systems that create deities. I think a lot of our Western literature is suffused with the gods of especially kind of the Jewish and Christian faith. They're suffused, they're embedded, they're a part of that literature. And as someone who loves to read literature, loves to read older literature, it behooves me to be familiar with it on something, not on a kind of a dogmatic, really parsy level. But it's one of those things. If it's worth to read the Bible, it's worth to read the Bible a variety of times and think about what's contained in them. Think critically about it, and looking at it as not as divine revelation, but as we're a kind of a belief system created by human beings for other human beings that has had massive influence on our culture. So that's sort of where I come from. Noah at Everything Thing Must Converse did a response video where I think he took umbrage with Steve's tone. Steve is what would you say about Steve? Steve is he's provocateur. If he thinks something is bullshit, he'll call it as bullshit. I think that rubbed Noah a little bit the wrong way. I don't think they've had a major falling out or anything, but we could definitely see that there was like a little bit of a umbrage there. And it's funny because then Steve, I think, took a little bit of umbrage that he'd be characterized as being dismissive of other faiths. He's somebody who he's probably read more about religion and thought more about religion than most people on BookTube, and definitely he doesn't believe. He's definitely a hard atheist. He's also somebody who has read a lot and thought a lot and is very immersed in all of this. I think as a good critic, he's got a lot of kind of Christianity under his belt, the good and the bad. I mean, he's somebody who I know is big into like Erasmus and Renaissance thinkers, Renaissance humanists, all Christians. So he's definitely coming from a thing, but that's not seen by everybody. Noah has some interesting ideas of just seeing that he sees science as a faith. Um, that you believe in science, that it's something that isn't something that it's as much a faith as a religion is. Um, you that you come up with theories and they become dogma, and that they would, I think that's the way I would characterize what he said. At least, and this is one of these tough things. When you do response videos, you realize exactly how poor of a listener many of us are. And that's how people get into massive arguments. And you know, I think we have fundamentally different ideas of what science is. I see science as a process, and I mean that's not to say people bring forward theories on how to explain stuff, and they're testable theories, and have to be independently tested. Like, if I believe in this is what I think about gravity. There are dropping rocks off of buildings and timing stuff, and that's why my theory works. And then people will come up with ways to say, okay, well, how can we test this in other ways and see if we can falsify it, and that if the theory is able to be falsified, then it becomes a discredited theory. It becomes a theory that isn't useful, and new theories come up. Now, that isn't to say in the history of science you don't have slow periods where people get very attached to certain things, of like maybe going from Newtonian to Einsteinian physics, that people don't hold on to things, and there's an old guard who wants to hold on to it. But if you compare that with the kind of evolution that you can see in religion, it's positively lightning fast how if you can change fundamental ideas about physics in 100 years, I would challenge you to find a religion that can radically change its beliefs in its beliefs, its theories of the world in such a short time period, without just being kind of not being that religion anymore. Science is a process, not and science isn't a particular theory in science. It's that process that that is thing. So there's definitely that. There's also just the ideas of things that we can't explain, thus are religion, which is sort of a way of saying things that are just beyond human comprehension are or beyond human comprehension at the moment. That's been the interesting thing of religion. Religion had a wide scope of all the many things that human beings at that point couldn't explain, but that has slowly shrunk and shrunk and shrunk as we've gone along with the advent of science, where it's like, yeah, we can explain storm clouds, we can explain various kind of physical phenomena, we can explain illnesses. It's not a moral failing, it's not the gods being angry with us. So using that as an argument of why there's a god kind of, it seems pretty weak sauce, because it's like, okay, well, let's wait another 10 years and see if that gets explained away too, as well. The same thing goes with kind of people who are into ghosts and miracles, as using that as a basis for your belief system. It seems to me kind of weak. Now that said, I love stories, and I find there's something in religious stuff that is about storytelling. It's about making meaning of the world, and I find that endlessly fascinating. And while it's not something that I'm going to find objectively true any more than I'm going to find Alan Mendelsohn, the boy from Mars, isn't isn't. It's a bunch of lies. It's a made up story, but it's a book that there's in its lies. I find great pleasure. I find sometimes I find wisdom. I find ways of thinking about the world. But I wouldn't privilege Alan Mendelsohn over the Bible necessarily, other than the Bible is far more influential of a book. Probably contains some parts of it that are far exceed Daniel Pinkwater. Forgive me, Daniel Pinkwater, in the beauty of the prose, in the density of thought. So yeah. I'm an atheist who doesn't want to throw away the stories, but I'm also wary of I wouldn't want to live in a world where religion was how how my life was governed. I wouldn't be able to talk into this box. I suspect I wouldn't be able to. You know, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't give up from science. So yeah, that's my response to a response to response. I didn't even get to the other guy, Dante guy, who was very much of like, all religions have some truths, and it's like as Steve pointed out in his response video, it's like that's something that would have gotten you burned in your own Roman Catholic beliefs maybe 200 years ago. That would have gotten you and landed you in serious trouble. I'm reading Trent LeBlanc at the moment, which is about Christians and Moors just killing each other by the bucket loads and treating each other completely not like human beings, which is, and there's also economic things and just, empires competing for resources and all that underlying stuff that gets overlaid with religious ideology as a way to kind of motivate people to butcher each other. But, it's all within, it's a very human thing. Religion, it's not about God, it's about human beings. Spirituality, also not about anything out there, it's about ourselves, which is not a bad thing, but it's just that's how I recognize it as an atheist. Yeah, all right. So that was me babbling. I just needed a little babble today because I'm gonna have lunch and go to work, and it's been busy because I had to go get a battery for a car and worried about the car, whether it's gonna work. Oh, it's funny. Someone was talking about having the faith about your car working every time you turn it on. It's like my faith is shaky at the moment for that, and I have objective reasons why. That the timing seems out. It's when it's at idle, it feels like it's is it going to start? Is it going to stall? It's like so. As good atheist, I'll take it to an auto mechanic and he'll have a look at it because he's got training and good scientific materialism. It's really useful for stuff, I guess. Noah. All right. I will leave it there. More videos later.